Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Tim, and I'm going to be reviewing today 101 Fairy Tales by the Brothers Grimm. This is a Canterbury Word Cloud Classics edition. It's got like a leather font. There's all bits of the stories, a whole load of text on the back. Then you got end papers, which are trees, a little owl, and then it's got the lovely little symbol there, 101 Fairy Tales, the Brothers Grimm. Right, so this is, as the book says, 101 Fairy Tales by the Brothers Grimm. These were written in the, 18th century, something like that, 19th century, by two brothers, and these have now become the basis of a lot of folklore and culture that we have. So in here there is Snow White, there is Cinderella, there is Briar Rose, which is Sleeping Beauty, Hansel and Gretel, Rumpelstiltskin, Little Red Riding Hood, quite a few stories that are familiar. What else is there? There's one called Thumbling, which is a bit like Tom Thumb or Thumbelina. But yes. And then there's also loads of stories that aren't in the published consciousness anymore. And I think that's both a good thing and a bad thing. So this is a book that I started reading when I was on holiday, and I finished it in the first week of September, so I finished it about 5 days ago. And I think I read this book wrong. So, which is a weird thing to say. I didn't really like this. I read it cover to cover. As you would a novel, and because of that, there's 101 stories here, and this is 408 pages long, something like that, just over 400 pages long. So the stories are very short. Most of them are 3 to 4 pages. Some are a little bit longer. Some are just a page. So you can go through them very quickly. And I read this cover to cover. And I think that was a detriment, because one thing that is common in children's literature, these are written primarily for children, but also just in fairy tales, is repetition. So there's quite often 3 of things: Goldilocks and the 3 bears, and there's the chairs, the beds, the porridge. Who's been blah 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 in my blah blah blah? Who's been blank 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 in my blank blank blank? And so each story has a lot of repetition in it. And this, so while you're reading it, and if you're not having a good time reading it, like I wasn't really, you skim bits, because there's literally whole passages that are just repeated. Please go tell the king that blah, 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 blah. Oh, and then the peasant went and found a horseman and said, please go tell the king, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, cool, skim that bit, skim that bit, skim that bit. And so that was a detriment, and it's not too bad. I would say that wouldn't be bad if you were reading it to your children. I wouldn't necessarily read these to children now, but if you're reading them once a night or 2 or 3 a night, and that's it. But I read a lot of this on a plane, sitting there while trying to sleep, and when you read 10, 12 stories in a row, and they all have this amount of repetition, it gets very boring, ultimately. So there's the repetition within the story itself, because the whatever and the 3 whatevers. Then there is the repetition of the stories. So there are a few, you could call them tropes, but there's a few stories where you're like, they almost start exactly the same. So and these are the orders of the stories in here. So let me go to the end. Hans in luck, Hans married, gambling Hansel. Then you've got, here we go. The wolf and the man, followed by the wolf and the fox, followed by the fox and his cousin, followed by the fox and the cat. So they're all very similar. and you get a bit bored of reading about ravens, swans, three brothers, 12 brothers, or 12 siblings. That happens quite a lot. Kings, fair maidens who are incredibly beautiful, women who are made to stop talking and act dumb and can't laugh. That's quite specific, and that happens several times. One of those stories I actually really liked. What else is there? Taking when you're sent to kill someone and you take the eyes and tongue of a deer as proof that you killed the person and you let them go free. That happens more than once. That's very specific. Yeah, kings and queens, evil stepmothers, evil women generally. In here, women are either evil mothers or stepmothers, they're hags or witches, or they're beautiful maidens to be married. That's about it. Stories where there's three brothers and two of them are very cruel and one of them is very stupid and the stupid one is good. That happens more than once. So those are just a few I've rattled off, having not read this for a week or so. So there's lots of repetition of the stories, and I swear I got to a point where like the first sentence in like three straight stories was the same, and I was like, oh, I should roll my eyes. I was like, I can't to read this. Oh yeah, stories where there's someone who has a son as big as a thumb. That happens in like 3 different stories, and I don't know if it's the same boy or if it's a different boy that's shaped like a thumb, the size of a thumb. But yeah, it was like. But in terms of, I would say, I don't know if, I think it's because you know the stories. So Briar Rose, Snow White, Red Riding Hood, you know, they stand out. Cinderella is different because I think the film is the Charles Perrault, the French version. This has no fairy godmothers. There's actually not many fairies in it at all, I don't think. I don't remember any fairies. But yeah, no fairy godmothers. It's animals that bring her dresses. And she goes 3 times, because everything is 3 times. She goes to the ball. The ball lasts like 3 days, and she goes every day. And doesn't. The prince still can't remember who she is. Because he's a dingus. And she keeps running away. And then he finds the shoe, and then the stepsisters cut off. One of them cuts off all their toes, and the other one cuts off all their heels, try and make the shoe fit. The shoe fills with blood. Yeah. So I wouldn't read these to kids. One of them, Snow White, how they kill the evil stepmother, who's the queen. She is made to wear burning hot shoes and dance till she dies. That's a suitable punishment. But yeah, in terms of my favourite story that's not... I've got 2 favourite stories that are not famous. So one of them is the 12 Brothers, which is pretty crazy. So there's 12, king and queen have 12 sons, and she's pregnant again. And the king says, because he's a very sane man and not at all inbred by the royal system of monarchy, if I have a daughter, I'm going to kill all my sons because I really want a daughter. And so I'm going to go make 12 coffins for them. You cool with that, wife? You cool with that, queen? Cool, thanks. And so she has a daughter, and she is incredibly upset because she's going to have her 12 sons killed. So she tells them to run away. And they go and run in the forest, and they go hide in the forest. They have a daughter. She has no idea she has brothers. And the 12 brothers swear off women. Oh, we don't like women because a woman almost got us killed. Wasn't the king, it was the daughter. It was her fault, really. And then the daughter grows up, the daughter goes to the forest, the daughter meets the brothers, and the brothers are about to kill them, and then she talks about them, and they figure out their relatives, and the garden of the cottage that the brothers are in. So you're like, that's a nice story. Boom. Then the cottage that the brothers are in has 12 flowers. 12, I can't remember what flowers they were. Crocuses or orchids or something. And she cuts them to give to the brothers. But these are magical flowers. So as soon as she cuts them, her brothers turn into ravens. So she's now got 12 ravens and flies away. Then she's trying to fix this problem. She finds out that she can not talk or laugh for 7 years. And so she shuts up and she has to talk. If she talks or laughs in that 7 years, then her brothers will stay ravens. in this time, she meets another king from a different kingdom who falls in love with her, and they get married. And I think this happens a few times as well, so it might be this story, it might be a different one, but she keeps having children, and an evil stepmother keeps taking them away in the night and saying that she ate them, saying the queen ate her children, she's a child eater. And the queen doesn't respond because she can't talk, she can't laugh, she has to act dumb, so she doesn't respond. And the king believes her, believes the queen, the one who can't say anything, believes her, I think 3 times, because everything's in threes. And then the last time he's like, okay, she must be a child eater. We'll just burn her at the stake. And this is like as the 7 years is running out. And as she's on the stake and they're lighting the fires, she hits 7 years and she can now talk. And she talks. She says, no, I didn't eat my children. This woman is evil. And her 12 brothers, who are all ravens, come in and they turn back and they were like, oh, we're her brothers. We saw the whole thing. She's a good one. This was why she couldn't say anything. And then they kill the evil stepmother. So that was a really good story because it was like, whoa, loads of stuff happened. And then the other one, which I just found hilarious, and I don't know if it's intentional or not, is called, where is it? It's literally called like a list of the things, the mouse, the bird, and the sausage. So a mouse and a bird and a sausage live together, and the bird gets the firewood in the forest, the mouse gets the water from the well, and the sausage does the cooking. This is a sentient, live sausage that can act on its own free will. Then the bird's in the forest, and he's like, oh man, from another bird, oh man, why are you doing all the hard work? You guys should switch up jobs. Like, doing the cooking, getting the water is way easier. So the bird comes back and is like, hey, we should all swap jobs, because I'm definitely doing the hardest job. So they send the sausage out into the forest to go collect the firewood. The mouse does the cooking, and the bird gets the water. So as the sausage goes into the forest to get firewood, and finds a dog, and the dog eats the sausage. Then they're waiting for ages, and the bird goes into the... let me see if I can find the line exactly. But the bird goes into the forest to find... 23. Find the sausage, and finds the dog. And it's like, hey, you ate my friend. And then the dog comes back, because the dog can talk, because everything can talk, with the best line... for the dog said he had found forged letters on the sausage, a capital offence. So here the dog ate the sausage, the magical talking sentient sausage, and then said the sausage had dodgy paperwork, so he was actually doing a citizen's arrest by eating him. Just perfect. Meanwhile, the mouse is trying to cook, and when the sausage starts cooking, he rolls in the thing to like give everything a nice taste. So the mouse does that and cooks himself and dies, and then the sausage is dead, and then the bird goes down the well and ends up falling in the well and can't get out and dies. And that's the end. Weird. Anyway, so some of them individual stories are really interesting, but when you hear that kind of story 101 times, it gets very samey, very repetitive. So for me, I gave this 2 stars, but I would still recommend it to people because I think I just read it wrong. I think if you pick this up and read this throughout the year, just the odd story here and there, I think you would enjoy it much, much more than reading it cover to cover like I did. Anyway, have you read this? Let me know what some of your favourite stories are, or if you'd like me to do a list of like what were my favourite fairy tales or what were my least favourite fairy tales. Let me know by giving me a little house emoji in the comments below. So then, like the gingerbread house in Hansel and Gretel. But anyway, there we go. 101 fairy tales by the Brothers Grimm. 2 stars for me, but I would still recommend, if that makes sense. Anyway, bye!